Hey everyone, it's James here, and I want to give a bit of an update to my plans for 2025. I hope everyone has had a great end to 2024 as well as a good start to 2025. And yes, so after Toronto, I ended up getting sick and wasn't able to record and upload a few more Regulation H videos that I would have liked. I forced myself to record the last two because I really wanted to showcase the Regulation H team that I had, and I really did enjoy that team. It's my favorite team of the Regulation, and I really want to showcase it. So I did. And yeah, I recorded those before the holidays, which was difficult, but yeah, I was still able to get it out, and I hope everyone has had a wonderful holidays. So let's get into the plans for 2025 because there's quite a bit to talk about with competing and with the channel. So let's start with competing. Now, this is going to come back for several years. So let's start with, I think, Gen 9. I think 2024, the year, I think it was probably my worst year result wise. Like, I can't really say I'm super impressed by any of the results that I had in 2024. Now, granted, usually when I talk about results, I'm usually thinking about like top cut placements. Usually day two is like okay, but I don't really consider it. For me, it's always like top cut because I know I'm a player who can top cut events and I've done it before and it was the norm for quite a while. So I know I'm a player who can reach it, but in 2024 I didn't top cut anything. I didn't top cut any of the major events I went to. The start was rough actually. Like Charlotte regionals, I went there and it was probably one of my bigger regrets of the year because I went there, I had an injury on my foot, and yeah, it's just for some reason I had so much pain in my left foot where it was just hard to walk. Like if you met me at Charlotte regionals, I might have been limping and it was really difficult. Like I lost my shoes apparently in the hotel room like the day of competition, and that made it worse. I had to wear like slippers. I think there was like ice too if I'm not mistaken. So one of the worst decisions. I played some of the worst Pokemon. I ran a hyper offensive team too, so that didn't help. I was trying to rush games as quick as possible and just like try to like calm down and sit somewhere else where I could probably calm my foot. But yeah, I played some of the worst Pokemon. I think, what did I drop? I know I dropped super early in the tournament. Was it like 1-3, 2-3, something like that? It was awful. It was one of my worst tournaments ever. Like I played so awful then. And then I think the next event was Vancouver, which was like okay. It was a 6-3 performance, one win away from making it into the day two of there, and I did get a bit of lucky in Vancouver, so that was an okay tournament. Afterward, I think I ended up having a really good streak if I'm not mistaken from day twos. Like I had a really good run other than the world championship of day twos where I was able to get day two at EUIC, which I worked really hard for. I had a bit of a last minute team decision wise, but I still had a few days to grind it, and was really happy about my performance at EIC. I went 11-4 and 34th, which two places away from getting any prizing, which that stings because lady LIC I went before. I got top 16 with like a top 16 with a 10-4 record, so going 11-4 at this event just to not even make top 32, being one of the only X4s not getting any prizing. It felt bad, man, but it's like, what can you do? I'm still very happy about how I played that tournament in general. And then I had a good run at Orlando regionals. I think it was the week after, and was able to make another day two performance there, which was pretty nice. I went to the LA regional championship, and that regional championship was something, man. It was something. I'll just say that. But was able to make day two there. Didn't go to NIC. I didn't go to NIC. And then Worlds, I'll talk about Worlds afterward. Actually, maybe I should talk about Worlds because for the past two Worlds performances in Gen 9, they haven't been good at all. They've actually been my worst Worlds performances ever in the history of my career of competitive Pokemon. They have been some of my worst World Championships in general. 2023, I will argue it was out of my control. And if you don't know what happened to me in 2023, I'll leave a link to the Twitter thread that I made about the event because, like, my God, man, that tournament was something. That tournament was something. So that one was that was out of my control. And then 2024, I knew the risk that I was taking. So I was pretty okay with the result of 2024, even though it wasn't the ideal result, right? So I went like 1-3 drop, and I didn't actually win a single round, because a round one was a win bye because I had a day or a round one bye because of the invitational structure. So yeah, it was a rough world championship. It was a rough world championship. It was something that I took a team that was super risky. I ran Kyogre, and the entire team was focused on Kyogre getting KOs with Terra Water 3 attacks. And it does really well if you play well and you hit your moves. But if either of them slip, you're in such a bad spot. Like, it's very punishing. Reg G is very punishing to play because you can't really make many mistakes, and you can't really afford to miss a single attack. And that was my round 2. Like, got crit in game 3 on Arela on grassy terrain against Miraidon Draco Meteor, which forced me to have to hit Hydro Pump into an Ogre Pond. And if I had to Hydro Pump, I'm in a really good spot. It's the only Hydro Pump I went for, and I just missed the first one. It's like, yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. And then it just snowballed out of my control. So yeah, that World Championship was a bust. I still am very happy with the team that I played, and I had a lot of fun practicing for that Worlds. I actually put in a lot of practice for that Worlds. Unfortunately, sometimes like practice won't lead you to the result, but realistically, I could look back and be like, yeah, I would still do it all over again. I enjoyed that team. That team was really fun for me. I thought it was unique. I thought it actually had good matchups into like several of the teams in day 2. Just sometimes it doesn't go your way, and that's just how it goes sometimes. And for me, I've been looking back at it, and yeah, like I did have to take a break from that Worlds because I played so much, and obviously I didn't get the result. And I think this will probably lead into our next segment, which I think is a good segue, which is Burnout. And I think, let me explain Burnout real quick. From my perspective, I think that Burnout is when you put in a lot of work that sometimes is tedious, that you don't enjoy, towards a goal that you want to accomplish, and all that work that you don't find enjoyable, that doesn't end up leading towards progress to your goal, is basically how I describe Burnout, and or like what leads to burnout, where it's really hard to like continue performing. And for me, I think burnout wise, I think I've had it for a long time. I realistically think I've been burnt out since probably in the middle of, probably say it was gonna be in the middle of Gen 8, because I've been playing Pokemon since 2009, and that is 16 years of Pokemon. Granted, there was like maybe a year off because I didn't play 2012, because I didn't know 2012 existed, because it was hard to find Pokemon back then or any information. Like, you can find anything pretty much out now, but there was very little information about like competitive Pokemon back then. But yeah, I've been playing this game for so long. 16 years. 16 years is insane. And competitively, I've been playing since 2014. So that is about 11 years competitively in general. And yeah, I think when I ended up having a big structure, because even for the first couple of years of competing, like I would only go to like maybe 4 to 5 events max throughout the year. And then I had the chance with how they changed travel award systems and being able to get invited to all of these big events across the continents. Like in 2019, I ended up having that stroke of fortune, and I ended up getting to play Pokemon around the globe, really. And I went to like at least 10, I think, majors, I think, in like the 2019 period, where I would go to these events, and including locals too. Like, because of how the structure worked, they changed the local system, and you had to go play a lot of Pokemon even on the weekends. Like, if you weren't traveling to a big event, I was probably at a local. So I was playing competitive Pokemon a lot, and I mean a lot. And this was a huge increase where it'd only be like a few events to like, oh my God, I have to do like a lot. So I think like I was still performing well, and I was still able to keep up for the most part, even throughout like 2019 to 2020. And then the pandemic hit, of course, where we had lockdown. And then because like it was super boring throughout lockdown. I ended up streaming Pokemon for a long time, and I was doing these massive, like really long streams. I don't even remember. I definitely streamed a long time throughout 2020, 2021, where I'd be streaming a lot on Twitch, and I was growing up a lot. Like, so I would be continuing streaming. I'd be playing Pokemon, and then I think I just hit a breaking point because at the end of the day, I wasn't practicing towards winning that world championship, right? Because worlds had been postponed that year, like or not postponed, canceled that year. So that season entirely, it was like, what was I really fighting for? And then I think like at that moment there were a few other mental factors that start to creep in. It's like completely just shut me down. So I didn't go to too many events after they reopened to resume 2022. I went to 3 events afterward. I was still skeptical about COVID, and also like I didn't actually get in because of the system for the UIC sign up, so I wasn't able to go to UIC. So I only went to one regional championship, which was Newark. I didn't perform well there. It was the first regional back, and probably like yeah, I'm just gonna say I didn't really prep for that event, and also like I just wanted to see people. It was a regional that was so close by. I was like, might as well. But yeah, that wasn't a good result. And I had probably 2 of my best results actually. NIC, because I kind of took it super calmly, and I was just able to like work because I had used the team I was going to bring to EUIC to NIC anyway, or the team that I was playing a bunch at the time during the EUIC period, and I had a bit of experience. And then I also had some friends who also used the team, were super high level with that team, and just gave me the notes for it, and I was able to study those notes, and I was able to perform super well at NIC, was able to get top 8 there. And then Worlds, kind of had a dream run world championship in 2022, right? I didn't really play too much. I played like a few games a day, but that was not with the team. I actually played with a completely different team. I was just playing standard stuff, just so I was like, you know, like I still had an instinct of what to do. Like I was still keeping fresh a bit, but also like, yeah, I didn't really play too much, I think, for the 2022 World Championship. I did prep and I did practice a bit, right? But it was like nowhere near the levels of like 2019 and how much I grinded back then, or like previous years of like 2014 to 2018. I played a lot of Pokemon back then, but I definitely slowed down for 2022. And I ended up getting my best result, or one of my best results, tying. I got 3rd place at the World Championship again. So I think I just had the dream run where you have a really good team that you understand, and it was a good call too. Like I know how to play Kyogre, Redirection, Tornadus, Strong Fairy type, Other Restricted to partner with it. Like I just knew it. It was I had that to a science, and it still worked in 2022. So it's just like, okay, instead of Xerneas, I'm playing as Zacian. So had that. Feel like my luck at that World Championship, it was pretty much neutral to pretty decent. So I'd say that I didn't get unlucky throughout that tournament, which, let me just say, when it comes to Pokemon, that is a huge blessing. Like if you're not getting unlucky, like it's absolutely huge. It also did help that I had like no inaccurate moves other than high horsepower on Rila, and luckily I didn't miss any of those. So I was very fortunate there, where I had a team that just like did have very little luck factors that could be involved in, at least from missing. So you just have to focus on playing well. And then I just played some of the best Pokemon that I had because I just felt locked in. And sometimes you'll just have those days where it's like, wow, you're really on a roll. And that was me in 2022. And I had it for all the days of competition that I competed in, which was day 2 and day 3, which was the top cut day until the top 4, where I did lose. But I was very happy with the result. Like, with how I was playing in general, like I felt I was doing really well there. So yeah, and then I think when I started Gen 9, I tried to mimic my success from like the 2019 season and the 2022 season, where I was able to get a day 2 invite. I was in the top 8 of the standings for North America, and I tried to replicate it. And I just don't think I was actually in a position to actually do that. And I'll talk about more of that in a bit, but I think that I started off Gen 9 not in the best spot, and I tried to keep pushing it stubbornly, and it just didn't work, and it wasn't a good risk reward factor. So I'll be talking about that a bit more, but overall I do feel like I have been burnt out for quite a while, And because I was in the best spot in Gen 9 and I kept pushing it and kept forcing myself to play in suboptimal and unoptimal conditions, I was just really just spiraling downward, I think. And I think that's a problem. For me, the goal was always, again, to win worlds. I think that's most players, but I think for me, being able to be so close to winning that world championship, not only once, but twice, including like I've won every single other like competition of like 4 regional wins. I have an international win and several top cuts there. So the only goal for me was to always win worlds. And I think that it's been pretty difficult to, other than worlds, it's like, okay, everything else is just like gravy on top. Like, okay, there's a regional, there's an international, but it's been really hard to motivate, I think, to practice for those events when the only thing I've really been focusing on was the world championship. And the only one that I would still care about, I think, even to this day, is just like focusing on worlds. Some might argue that because I play more Pokemon than others because of the YouTube channel and how that is more of a career at the moment, it's like, oh, you should be better than most players at Pokemon. But in reality, I could go on a huge tangent about this, and I can really, and I think I did for like previous recordings, because this is my 13th time recording this because the others have been way too long. I'm like, okay, but I'll just keep it brief, I guess. For me, practicing for a tournament or Pokemon in general compared to content creation, they're two completely different things. Like I could actually say that they might actually hurt each other, because for instance, when you practice, for me, like when you practice is you have a specific goal that you're trying to accomplish in that practice session. It's like you are basically trying to like get better at a matchup. For instance, you're reviewing your plays, you're like studying notes. There's a lot that goes on to practice, at least in my eyes, for good practice. And then content creation for me, it's like I'm recording these videos, right? I'm showcasing teams, some that I probably wouldn't bring to a tournament. And then there is the aspect of me talking out loud while playing. And let's face it, no one plays Pokemon while they're talking out loud. Most people in the venue, when you go to a regional, are going to be quiet. And you should be. If you are one of those talking people, you really should be quiet when you're playing a match, because it's distracting to others. But yeah, like if you've ever played a video game and you've ever done narration, it's really difficult. It's really difficult. And for instance, I'll talk about, like, there's one YouTuber I can think about, Chugga Conroy, and he would talk about the Let's Play curse, where he just plays so much worse on camera when he's talking, and then like he's normally fine when like he's off camera or not talking. And yeah, it's kind of similar, because for me, it's like you have to focus on the talking aspect. I'm trying to like slow down like my brain of thought processes, because I'm usually trying to account for like a lot of different scenarios, and I'm running these simulations in my head. And then I had to focus on like there's only so much I can really talk out loud, where it kind of conflicts between the two. And then like my brain is just like trying to process both of this at the same time. And it's pretty much impossible. Like, I don't think I'm actually the best at this skill set, even with all the videos I've done. I feel like I've probably been better than like some people with this skill, but in general, like I think like it's really hard to bring some of my best, I think, and it kind of hurts either way, because I'm forced to slow down some of my brain, because I'm like trying to figure out like what are the words to say here, and then it trains my brain to slow down. So like when I need to like go like during these moments where like I have to run these simulations in my head and I'm trying to figure out the best place, like I'll slow down and then I'll run out of time. And I've noticed this at events too. Like it does have a negative impact on me sometimes, but that's a completely different story. But let me just say, they are definitely two different things. Practicing and content creation, I think, are definitely two different skills, and they can impact each other in some way. Granted, I do think that playing some Pokemon is still a good thing, right? Like getting more practice, or not practice, but getting more experience playing Pokemon is always going to help technically. But at the same time, like there's moments where it does impact if it is in specific. Like for instance, if you are a musician, right, and you are playing like a saxophone, for instance, right, you're gonna get better with the right posture when you're focusing on like practicing the scales and like whatever music you're working on in like right position than like, I don't know, like lying down on your couch slouched and then just randomly just throwing notes out there, right? Like I think that's how I would probably argue like between the difference of playing and practicing. And yeah, like when I'm playing the game when I'm doing content, it's like completely different from, I think, the skills that I do for practice to intentionally get better and focus on specific, like what do I want to work on. Okay. I tried to make that short, but I probably went on too long. So let's talk about competing. Competing feels like I was trying to beat, I think, my past self, and it has become kind of toxic, where I think if you have stood at the top at one point and you are trying to maintain that image, it creates a lot of pressure. And for instance, in 2019, after LIC 2, which I was able to win, after getting a top 4 at the World Championship just a few months before, I think I cemented myself as one of the best in the game. For that time period, like I was undoubtedly one of the best players in the game. I had one of the best seasons, and I had just cemented the win and the consistency that I had. And yeah, it definitely did feel like I was at a pinnacle at one point, where I think when you reach one of those pinnacles, it can be really difficult. I always get reminded of this scene. If you have ever seen the anime Love is War, there's this the main character, or one of the main characters, Miyuki, and he literally is like the top student, and this is probably a generic situation, so you could probably imagine this in your head. Like he's the one who does a bunch of hard work, and he literally maintains the #1 standing in the academics. Like he's always #1 on tests, always gets the best scores, and basically he has a lot of pressure on his shoulders, where like he has to maintain this top image because he's also like the student president and the genius academic boy, but realistically he's just a hardworking guy. And afterward, like he celebrates super hard afterward, where he's like fist pumping and a bunch of other stuff after he has seen the test results, even though he was like super calm otherwise. He's like, yeah, this like was able to put in a lot of work and get lucky. Like, yeah, it's just hard to maintain images. And I think, and for me, like I did have that image that I was one of the better players in the game, like, and you know, when I go to these events, I see a lot of you guys out there, and you guys come up to me and say a lot of kind things. And let me just say, I am super thankful to everyone who's come up to me, anyone who's told me that they enjoy my videos, anyone who's said that I'm an inspiration, that they really love watching me play. Like, I do appreciate it. I do appreciate it. It's amazing, especially because Gen 9 has been such a big boom in Pokemon in general, and we can see that by like literally the attendance. But I think for me, it also does have a small negative in a way, where it's like a reminder that people have a lot of expectations for me, or like they see myself as like, you know, like what the students saw Miyuki in, one at the top. And it's like, man, it's like normally I would play for myself, but sometimes you get reminded a bunch, and it's like, man, it's like, yeah, it's a heavy feeling. For those of you that don't know this feeling, it is pretty hard. It is definitely pretty hard maintaining it. So that's just something I felt like that has come like a huge weight on my shoulders recently. So by the way, you should always, like, if you do see me in an event and you want to come up, you should, like, if you have those kind words, I always will take it. Like, I do appreciate them. So like, it shouldn't stop you, but it's just something that I do get, like, that I do think about, like, often. So like, I'm not telling anyone to stop. It's just like it is something that just occurs in my head when I think about it. So because it's like, man, like this is it's just a hard thing to express. I think it's a hard thing to express, but I do appreciate them. And nothing wrong with coming up to me. And if you do see me at an event, because I love chatting with anyone, especially like anyone from my community. I love like seeing you guys at the events and chatting with you guys, having fun conversations. Like that's one of the reasons why I still go to events, and I still will go to events, because I do enjoy the conversations. Like I get to meet so many interesting people who watch my videos from all around the globe. Like it's incredible. But I think one thing about competing, and I think life in general, is the difficulty of balancing life. And I'm gonna go super deep. This is a super deep topic, but I do want to stress it out because I do think that this is important. So I think with balancing life, there's one principal rule that I have where there is 5 aspects of life that you should be healthy in if you want to succeed in anything else you want to go for in life. Like if you have a life goal and you want accomplishment, you need to, I think, have these 5 things in order, and it will accelerate your progress way faster than anything. And you got to have these first before you attempt it. And I think for me, those 5 things are your physical health, because if you're having like issues with like, I don't know, like weight or nutrition in general, like, and those cause health problems down the road, it's not exactly great. So being physically healthy is one of them. Being mental healthily, obviously, like the thoughts in your head, like thought processes in general. Like there's so much I think about mental health that has been coming up, I think, as years go on, especially in recent years. And I think that's a good thing, because I think people have been talking about like how good therapy is, and yeah, it absolutely is. And addressing these issues, because I think society has definitely been having a bit more issues with mental health, especially with the rise in technology. We have these dopamine like driven phones that we could just like look into and like get all the dopamine, but like it has accelerated, I think, a lot of mental health. I do think that it's really important, of course, because this one, like, it's so vital to happiness. Financial health, I think, is a big one, because obviously not struggling to pay your bills, to retire, like our economy is just super rough. Like realistically, our economy, like in the world, is so difficult right now. Like it is something that I think that can impact other aspects too, especially where it, like financial health, I think helps with others as well. But I think all of these can correlate to another. For instance, like financial health, like if you have enough wealth that you're able to, like, you can afford better quality food, for instance, you can afford to go to the gym to get physically fit. Maybe even if you're even better financially, you can hire a personal trainer to get into shape more. So yeah, there's like definitely a lot of things you can do with financial health. Like with more finances in order, like you could get like a therapist to help out with your mental health. And yeah, like it can definitely help out with the others as well that I'm going to list. But yeah, I think financial health is super important, not because there's financial helps in relationships. If you have a significant other, like there's just so much. Like I could probably go super too deep, but I just want to introduce like what these 5 things are. Spiritually is the next one, and that's basically what your goal and purpose in life is. And maybe I'm gonna get too deep, like this might be too deep, but realistically it's like spiritually is like, okay, it's not like a religious thing, it's more like, okay, what do you want to do in life? Like, are you still searching for like what you want to accomplish? And it's okay if you don't, like, it's okay if you don't know what you want to do, but I do think that you should still keep searching regardless. And once you do find that thing that you really want to accomplish, you go for it. So I think finding a purpose is really nice. And socially, which is just your relationships with your friends, your family, and others. So I think having these 5 things in order are so important, because you can accomplish, I guess, goals, and you can make progress towards them even if like one or multiple of these things are lacking. But I think it can become very difficult, or it can end up crashing down if you don't have these things in order. For instance, if you are mentally unhealthy, right? Like for instance, you could be like a really great office worker, like you're super productive, you're doing really well, but then like let's say you get into depression because you haven't been taking well of your mental health, you could end up like going into depression for several months, your productivity goes down, and then like that affects your work as well, and then it could just spiral out of control. So even if you make the progress, I do think that at the end of the day, like these things can happen. Like financially it can affect you like as well. If you aren't able, if you're struggling for instance to afford like basic food or your rent, like that's just going to affect you in so many different levels that no matter what your current goal is, it might affect you there. Like you might have to be on the back foot because of these issues. Physically, of course, when it comes to like weight and nutrition, like could lead towards a lot of health problems down the road. And yeah, there's so much that these 5 things can affect, where sure you can make progress, but I think if you master these 5 things and get them under control, you'd be surprised of how much you can accomplish and bring out into your full potential. And I think for me, this is something that's basically been something I've been telling a lot of people who are my friends, as well as like when I did coaching, I did tell them that I think these 5 aspects are super crucial. Like if you want to like accomplish anything in life, or accomplish anything, or like want to start towards something, like these 5, if you get these mastered, you just be shocked of how much you can do. And for me personally, I think in 2024, some of these aspects went pretty well, actually. I'd say most of them did. Like physically, after Hawaii, for instance, my weight, I would say I've been stagnating quite a bit, even though I've been wanting to lose. Like I've just always been like on and off, because every time like I'd probably lose a few pounds and I'd go to a tournament, it'd be hard to like get back into mood because I'd be constantly traveling. So there is that. And then after Hawaii, I'm like, okay, since I'm taking this break from Pokemon, let's get back into shape. And it's a very hard process to lose weight. Like for instance, it's really hard to lose weight in general. Like if I think for most people, yeah, they want a secret that they want just to shortcut it, but really it's just like a few simple rules. And for me, like I started finally, I think, going down the calorie deficit mode. I'm not super crazy in the calorie deficit, by the way. Like I'd probably just eat like a few hundred calories less, and it's been super successful. I've been working out quite a bit, even though December I did take a bit of a pause, but in general, like after August into the end of the year, when the last time I weighed myself was like right before the holidays and December holidays, and that was, I ended up losing 20 pounds, which I am very happy. I was able to break a weight goal that I've been kind of struggling with, I think, for the last year. So I'm very happy with that. Granted, I think I gained 5 back, probably like 3 to 5 probably after the holiday meals. And it's been really cold outside, so it's been hard to like maneuver, but I'll be getting back into it, and I'm very motivated to get back into it because I've seen the results. So overall, like I think I'll be on track. Like I'm very happy with being able to lose 20 pounds in that time aspect. And even though I gained a little bit back, like I know what I need to do to accomplishing, like go even further down and just continue losing. So very happy with that. And yeah, I think spiritually, I'll get into it more later, but I've been very much just doing really, I think I now know what I really want to do. So that's something I'll talk about more later. And then socially, I've been really good, I think, at keeping like my social relationships with friends and family. Like I think this year has been one of the best years for keeping up with everyone and making sure that I get to see my friends, have good time, and balance conversations with friends and family. So yeah, I've been super happy about that. And then there are some that I think I've stagnated as well, or haven't really focused on and procrastinated. I think mentally, especially, that one's the one that's been like super shaky, because I don't think I've made super big impacts on going in for better mental health. And that's been something I think I do need to work on. So that'll be a thing too. And I think I kind of realized that I've had a lot of things that I've just wanted to do in the year, and I haven't really accomplished too many of them, because I think I've just had so many big ambitions and so many goals that I think for 2025 I just need to cut down some mercifully. I don't I don't know how to say the word. But I think I just need to have a hierarchy of priorities for my goals and just focus on the top ones for now. I think that's basically what I just need to do. And I will definitely be talking about that as the video goes on. But yeah, I do think that is going to be something. So there is that. Now, let's talk about a topic, and I think for 2025 I'm going to phase away from competition for a bit. Now, one of the big factors to me, I've been thinking about this for several years. Again, I've been talking about burnout and how I probably have needed a break in general, but even when I technically take a break, I'm still playing Pokemon, right? Like, I'm still technically playing Pokemon because I'm doing these videos, and like, yeah, so I'll end up still technically be playing a few games on like Showdown or Stadium Ladder, and yeah, like regardless, like I'll still get the itch at times. But yeah, so I think I tried to take a break last year, and technically I did, but at the same time it didn't really feel like a break, and I feel like I probably need to take longer because of the times I was just coming back to play. And yeah, I've been thinking about it for quite a bit, and I think one aspect that really just pushed me towards it was there was a book I ended up reading, I think towards the earlier parts of this year, and it is the book that I currently am rereading, actually, The Courage to be Disliked. And this is, I don't know, the book title is like okay, but a lot of this is just like, okay, focusing on just like what makes you happy. And for me, there is a very specific section in the book that really has just impacted me, which is the chapter Life is Not a Competition. And yes, I think to this is like Pokemon is a competition, obviously, like I compete in competitive Pokemon, but I think I thought about it like for a long time, and I've always said that I'm a very competitive person. Like, it's literally been since I was in childhood. I've always been a competitive person, like like racing towards who would get first in the class, first to like who would get like to the bus first, or like just a bunch of things like getting test scores and all that, like who can compete for the highest. It's like I just always was someone who liked winning and didn't like losing. I think that was just me for a bunch, and I think it has come to that aspect where it, again, helped build that toxic negative me in a way where luckily it never really affected towards others. It was more like I'd only be negative to myself because I had such strong standards for myself. Or yeah, I have such strong high standards for myself where it would only criticize me. Like, it wouldn't criticize other people, but it would just criticize me. And I was always the blunt of my other self. So there was one specific area where it's like talking about withdrawing from places that are preoccupied with winning and losing. When one is trying to be oneself, competition will inevitably get in the way. And I think about this, and for me, it's like I've had other goals than competing in Pokemon, but like for me, the other thing is like Pokemon was such a big aspect of my life for quite a bit, where it was only Pokemon, but now I feel like I've had quite a bit where it hasn't been a focus. But it's still hard to focus on those because I'm still competing in Pokemon, and then the competition side has affected it. It's where I think I've stagnated in other, again, goals that I've had. So for me, I would like to see what would happen if I also withdraw from the focus on the winning and losing side of competition. So I think that is something I'm going to experiment with 2025. And I think this is the perfect season. So even before the new world structure for this season ended up being announced, I was already going to only play maximum 3 regional championships and the international championships, and then worlds. That was all I was going to compete in, which is like half the tournaments I'd probably normally play in. And For this year is actually with the new season. I've already technically have attended 3 events, and I'm actually doing like for even with the new world structure, like I haven't gone into I haven't gone to any locals, but I'm still like I think I'm like what is it? It's like January now, and I think with only the 3 events that I played, plus maybe like a global challenge or 2 that I've had, just played for fun. It was like I think I'm like borderline like for North American invite, which is kind of insane because everyone else has filled out their locals and usually have like 2 at least regional slots. So maybe I'll qualify. I have no idea if I'll qualify for Worlds, but I think for now my plan is I'll be attending 3 more tournaments for the 2025 season. And these are pretty much ones I've already technically booked. So EUIC, I love going to London, so definitely a no-brainer. It's also usually the biggest tournament of the year that isn't the either NIC or World, so I do still want to go there. Always enjoy the vibes. Vancouver is one I'm going to be seeing friends in anyway, and I do like usually seeing one West Coast regional, and I think Vancouver is the best one by far, so we'll be going to Vancouver. And then North American International Championship, there might be a small chance I don't attend if, like, for instance, I get like an auto invite from EUIC or Vancouver, but or I just do really well at both of them where I should have my invite locked. But I would like to probably go to NIC since I didn't end up going last year, and since they moved location in New Orleans, I would like to try to. And then Worlds if I do qualify. And if I do qualify for Worlds, there's probably a chance I go back to like still trying to win Worlds, because Worlds has always been, again, the goal, and that's the main one. EUIC, I might, because I have always wanted to top cut in EUIC, and it's the only international I haven't top cut. So EUIC, maybe. It's Reg G, and I haven't really felt much motivated to really break through at EUIC yet, so who knows? But most likely, I don't think I'm going to be competing at, I think, the A-level game that I used to have, or I have played with in the past. I think for a lot of terms in Gen 9, I've kind of struggled, especially since I didn't actually talk about this, or I have kind of hinted, but when I talked about the 5 things or the 5 principles I had of health wise, like there were a few aspects I was really not good at the start. Like 2023 when Gen 9 first started, awful mental health. But there was just few factors outside of my control, outside of Pokemon, that I just really struggled with. So I had a really bad competing start to 2023. I just really couldn't really focus on too much because it was just such a problem that it was literally haunting me literally every single day. Like it literally was haunting me every single day, where it was like really hard because I was always going to be on guard in general, in like a life general sense purpose. Whereas like it's like the stress levels I had were probably insane, I think, for like the first, like the end of 2023 leading to the like first half month of end of 2022 to like the first 6 months of 2023. Like it was awful. Like, oh man, it was some of the worst. But yeah, I think overall ended up thinking I probably wasn't in the best state to compete. I pushed myself too hard and tried to do it with like a half-focused mindset, and it just didn't work out. And I think that contributed to even more burnout because I felt like I wasn't even getting results, which made me like not even feel like it was worth like going for Worlds. And yeah, it was a really rough point. It was a rough point. And I don't think I really talked about it again publicly, but yeah, it was just a rough time. So I will be competing less, and probably if you do see me compete, it'll probably not be my A game. It might not even be my B game. It might be my C game. Like I think most of the tournaments that I played in Gen 9, I probably have brought my B game or my C game. And I feel like if you don't know, there's like 3 different levels of like game quality wise. It's like your A game is like when you're feeling really great about your gameplay and everything's on point, like all your reads, all your mindsets pretty much on par. And then there's the B game where it's like, okay, you're noticing some stuff, you're still playing exceptionally well, but you're making a few mistakes here and there. And then your C game's like your average, like if you didn't practice at all and it's like, okay, like that's what you're going into without any really awareness otherwise, it's like, yeah, that's basically the what you are. And like that's what a lot of your game generally is like your C game. If you haven't like literally like if you go into a tournament last minute, you haven't played in a while, plus you have a brand new team or a last minute team, it's kind of like that where you can only really focus on your fundamentals. And I don't think my C game is good enough to top cut events, at least at this stage, because there's a lot of Pokemon and there's a lot of factors that just come out of hand. So I feel like I've been playing probably in my B game or C game for most of the events. I think the only time I would say like, oh, I play in my A game was like, well, what would I say? I think the only times I probably played my A game, at least in 20 or at least in Gen 9, it would probably have been, there's obviously like the regional win that I had in Peoria, and I don't think day 1 I had my A game, but my day 2 I had definitely had my A game because I didn't lose a set that day, and I felt really good about every single play. Like every single read I made pretty much worked out. So I played my A game there, and I think that's like the only other time really that I'd be like, oh, I this is my A game, and I just feel like I haven't really found it yet. So I would like to see if I can focus on like the other aspects of my non-competition life, because for instance, I will be focusing on YouTube. As a spoiler, we'll get to that in a second. I think with YouTube, I never really viewed it as a competition at all. Like, sure, some might argue, oh, you are competing for views or competing for like watch time. It's like, I don't really believe that. For me, it's like, if you have good content, like people are going to watch you. Like to me, that's the end of the day. Like, and my goal is just to make better content. Like that's like my goal. That's my goal. It's just to make better content. And for me, it never felt like I'm competing with like any of the other VGC creators. And to me, it's like I actually really enjoy seeing them succeed, and I like learning from them if I do watch VGC content, because I don't really watch too much, but I like seeing them succeed, and maybe I'll like look for an idea or two. And yeah, I just for me, it's like I just like seeing VGC grow, and for me, it's a game I still really do enjoy for the most part, and I want more people to watch it, and that's another reason why I want to make better videos. So I think for me, I do want to go with phasing away from competition, bring that mindset. If I can bring that mindset, I think, to like how I want to, if I come back to competing in Pokemon, which I probably will. Like, I don't think this is going to be a permanent thing. I still probably will try. I will get definitely hungry for a Worlds win at some point. It always comes back. It usually comes in waves for the most part, especially towards the end of the season. But I think if I can bring that mindset to just focusing on bringing the best play, figuring out the best team, and putting in a lot of practice to the World Championship, I want to like bring my A game to. I think I could play some of much better Pokemon than I have in all of Gen 9. That's all I'll say. So yeah, I don't think this is a goodbye from competing at all, but I think this will be a step back to get a new mindset and a fresh perspective. So that's the end of competing. Let's do a few updates about content creation, which probably affect most of you. Some of you maybe not even care about my tournaments, but yeah. I'm trying to scroll because I had notes. Okay. So let's say updates on content creation. So there'll be a few less videos, I think, overall. It's like, oh no, he's not going to upload at all. No, pretty much I'd say most of the videos are pretty much going to stay the same. There might actually be a few more videos. I'll talk about that a bit later, but generally I think it will pretty much stay the same, like the current schedule. So if you don't know, a couple months ago when Regulation Age started, I uploaded different length videos where they would generally be like 30 to 40 minute videos, was my general average, to a like 1 hour 20-minute video. And it feels like I doubled my upload because of that, because it felt like normally I'd be uploading 30 to 40 and then it just doubled. So I felt like I was doing double the work, and it is a lot of work, but overall I don't think there's going to be too much difference. I think there's going to be a few less videos overall, at least for this first half of the year. And that's mainly because I think like most of the videos are still going to stay the same. Lengths might vary. I might not try to do like an hour 30 or an hour 20, but I'd still probably say like an hour is probably going to be the golden point, and we're still going to stay in the long format, and it's probably still going to be every other day for the most part. But the thing is, with a few less videos, I'm going to be talking about like during time periods where big major events weekends, because I notice every time I upload it during a regional championship, a big one where there's a stream for North America or Europe, and international championship weekends, like those videos obviously performed less well because there wasn't as much like a drought for VGC, because everyone was just watching like those streams, and then they didn't want to watch a VGC video afterward because it's like, oh, there was just like 8 hours or 12 hours of VGC content. Like that's my fill of VGC for the day. And I think that makes sense. It always just felt bad where I felt like I had a decent video or a good video that was just like having a lot less views. And because of how the YouTube algorithm works, and like if you don't get as many views, it won't push your videos far. I felt like some videos did underperform to where it could have probably just performed well if I upload like maybe like a few days later. So I think that's like pretty much the only difference. And I'm not going to force videos. Like if I don't feel like I am in a recording mood, it's not like I'm going to like really focus. Of course, I'm going to still try to upload for like a generic consistency, but for the most part, I'm just going to like not push myself to be like, oh, I have to get a video out this day specifically, or even if this video isn't going to do well, I'm going to upload it anyway. I think I'm just going to be a bit more strategic about my uploads and see how that goes. So basically, there might be like maybe like 1 to 3, maybe 1 to 4 videos less a month, but overall it's probably just going to be the same point every other day for the most part. So I don't think it really changes too much. Another news on updating for content creation, I am learning an entire new operating system. That's right. So I normally use Windows, and my PC is like 5 years old now. It is 5 years old, and it has definitely been showing some delay, and sometimes like during recordings, there is quite a bit that could happen, from rendering crashes to more. So I am actually learning quite a bit with new equipment. I have gotten a new MacBook, and I will be learning an entirely new operating system because I've never used Mac before. I'm actually learning entirely new editing software. The editing software I use now is like, I don't know when it was updated. What was it? Vegas Pro 14. I'm still using that today to record current videos, but it probably came out in 2014. I actually have no idea when it came out, but yeah, let's just say I do want to improve the videos, and I want to do something where I am learning DaVinci Resolve, which is a new program, and I've actually paid for the Studio Resolve form. Only reason I don't use Adobe is I don't like the subscription program, and DaVinci gives you a one-time like full payment option for 2 licenses, which is actually kind of insane. So I'm learning DaVinci. I've been actually taking courses, like I've actually taken paid courses on it, and there's a lot I'm learning, and I really am having fun learning all this new stuff that I really want to implement to videos, but probably going to be still taking a long time to learn these things, especially with a new operating system, because it's a new operating system plus thing. And then yeah, so there is that. So it's going to take a while to showcase. I'm still probably going to be using my old computer for the current moment to upload and record videos, but hopefully I learned DaVinci in a couple months. You'll see small improvements, I think, to the videos over time, and that's basically my goal, which is to apply these small improvements to the usual videos throughout the year. And I have been teasing some long-term projects, which this one really got procrastinated, and something that has affected me spiritually is I really want to focus on these long-term projects because I think they are really awesome. but I've just been either too lazy or I didn't have the right equipment or something always got in the way between an event. So I focus on that or like recording normal videos or something else happening. But it is something I did want to really just make sure that I do want to get something. And I'm going to be focusing a lot. That's why I'm learning this editing program, a new operating system, and new equipment right now. Is because I really want to focus on these long-term projects. I don't know if one is going to release this year. That's my goal, is to have one. But if I think I can make it better, then I'm just going to just see how it goes throughout. But yeah. And then the final upload is I have gotten a few questions of what happened to Beast Coast Pokemon. If you don't know, Beast Coast got acquired by M80, a different esports organizations. And they have bought out the Pokemon team, and they have bought out one other. I don't remember which one it was. So if you're wondering what happens to Beast Coast Pokemon, apparently we're still staying the same. I have no clue. I have my first meeting in like a couple days from recording and uploading this video, so I have no clue officially, but what I've been told so far is things are staying the same for the short term. So if anything changes, I will update you there. If you don't know, Beast Coast is the esports organization that me, Aaron, and Wolf and Necra are part of, and we do like these things on Beast Coast Pokemon, and we do some cool things, and apparently we're still going to be doing those. It's just we ended up taking a break because of the restructuring of the organization, but we should be back. I'll update that when it comes out. But yeah, so there is that. So that is going to be the update on content creation, and finally social media. So a few quick updates. I don't think they're super major, but for the most part, I don't think I'll be using Twitter other than maybe a few random updates. I think you could tell by how often I tweet. Like, I don't really tweet too much on Twitter, but yeah, like I'm probably only going to make a few random updates and only using Twitter to look for teams for the channel, because that's usually how I find teams from Japan, for instance, is they post them to Twitter. And that's the only time I'll really use Twitter. So I've actually deleted the app from my phone for productivity wise, because I couldn't even find teams for the most part because of like all the junk I've had to go through on Twitter. I've actually talked about like why I deleted Twitter app and more. Like, it's been the latest post on my Twitter that's pinned. But yeah, so I don't think I'll be too active on Twitter, but I will update on any important stuff if necessary. And I'll actually be using Blue Sky and Instagram more for communication and just posting random things. Like maybe I think I'm gonna use Blue Sky like original, like just posting random thoughts that I have here and there. I think because Twitter for me, it's just been filled with bots and unusable, where I can't even use my DMs anymore. So I think I've seen better. I don't know, actually. I haven't really used Blue Sky that much. I don't really look at the timeline, but it's probably because I'm not following anyone at the moment, because I haven't used it other than making like 2 random posts. But I'll probably use it more often. So I don't know how long I'll be using Blue Sky for, but from what I've been told, it's been more chill than current Twitter, because I feel like regular Twitter has been filled with a lot of nonsense on my timeline that it's just not worth using. Next is might try to return to streaming a few times a month on Twitch. I have always been saying I always wanted to go back to stream on Twitch. I just never had the time. It's always been usually focusing on the YouTube channel, but I have missed the community, and I really did enjoy talking to a community on Twitch when I did live stream. I took a lot back steps wise for mental health. Again, this was like during the COVID era, but yeah, I do think I want to like maybe stream like a few times on Twitch a month. So I don't think I'm gonna do anywhere near super long streams or any frequency like past, but maybe like once or twice a week on Twitch maybe, and yeah, a few times a month basically. So yeah, I would really love to chat. So if you do want to follow me on Twitch, you can ask me questions there. Check out the live streams. Probably going to be streaming VGC, maybe some other fun stuff as well. So yeah, that is basically the thing I think for Twitch. And then I generally won't be using much social media, I think, just because I've been scaling back a lot on social media because it's like doom scrolling and like addictive algorithmic feeds to keep you on the platforms. I think for me, I'm just not going to be using it much because I'd rather focus on creating content for the YouTube channel and consuming like things you won't even remember like the next day. So yeah, I think that's going to be a simple wrap up. Let's quickly go over. So a TLDR will be, I will be focused less on competing this year and will be concentrating on content related skills for 2025. Videos will be the same, but hopefully improve throughout the year. And I really want to release some of the projects I want to complete for years now. And I think for me, getting these videos out is something I've just wanted to do for several years. And I think it's super beneficial, but I just haven't. So I think now I will be going all in on those. And then I'll just be less active on other social media platforms, but we'll update on all of them. But mainly it will be Blue Sky, Instagram, and Twitch. So that is going to be 2025. Some of you might be happy with this news because videos are still pretty much going to be the same. And hopefully I even bring out better content for 2025. Others might be a little bit less happy that I'm not really focusing on competing as much. But I do think that it will have long-term progressions towards all my goals. And it's not like I'm saying goodbye to competing forever. I'll still be at events. Just a lot less of them now, and I feel like I'll build up a better mindset so when I come back to competing for a world's win, I think I'll be better than ever. I think I'll have a better mindset and be able to play some of the, or at least play some better Pokemon than I have been for all of Gen 9. Maybe it'll be in Gen 10, maybe it will be this World Championship, who knows. But thank you all to watching this super long update video. I've recorded this way too many times and they usually went over an hour and a half, so I'm surprised it's only been like an hour. So thank you to all of those for watching, and thank you for tuning into 2025, and I'm looking forward to making this a great year